I have yearly games that I play. Like, for instance, on my birthday, I play through Shogo, and every once in a while, just randomly, I'll play through Medal of Honor Airborne, and there's plenty more, but I think you get the idea. Well, every October, I play through F.E.A.R, one of my all-time favorite games. And I haven't really talked about F.E.A.R that much on this channel other than mentioning that it's one of my all-time favorite games. And I think it's about time I gave it a proper review. Absolute masterpiece, so let's talk about it. And, explain why it should be considered one of the best games of all time. Well, the F.E.A.R extraction point discs are in the case. That's a little weird, but you know what? I'm okay talking about F.E.A.R extraction point because it's just as good, if not better. So you know what? Let's take a look at this, since it's what's in the box. The first F.E.A.R game had 2 expansions, Extraction Point and Perseus Mandate. Both these packs were developed by TimeGate and not by Monolith themselves. The plot lines are not considered canon. The second game completely disregards what happened in these expansions. Because of this, I'm not going to explain the plot. There's no point. In fact, I'd say that fits for anything post-base game F.E.A.R. The lore gets convoluted and it contradicts itself often. It makes no sense. I've ranted about some of this in my stinky F.E.A.R 3 video I did a while back. Anyway, Extraction Point picks up right where the base game left off. In all honesty, when I think of F.E.A.R, I almost tie these two products together into one. If you haven't seen F.E.A.R before, I'm going to let the combat speak for itself. This is why F.E.A.R will always be one of the best games of all time. Objectively, one of the best games of all time. The lighting, particle effects, and satisfying gunplay all create the best combat situations. You really feel like you're doing some damage. And it's because of this that this game deserves being in the Hall of Fame. The shotgun is the best weapon in the whole series. Killing enemies in slow motion with this beast is so fun. I'm amazed how this is achieved without a sprint button. It's so fast and adrenaline-fueled and intense, and yet you're just waltzing around everywhere. Extraction Point is just perfect. I kind of hobble between deciding which experience I like better. Like, yeah, the base game came first, but Extraction Point kind of perfects the formula. Let me break it down into segments. 1, the weapons. The base game arsenal carries over, but you got new ones too. There's the deployable turrets, which I've really only used once to be honest, maybe twice. The enemy uses them though, so that's a nice added challenge. There's the laser, and man, I love this gun. It's not the strongest weapon, but it's really fun to use. It stands out as it's not another machine gun or rocket launcher. It's a unique weapon that changes the pace up a little bit. Then there's the minigun, which, let me tell you, tears enemies and the environment to shreds. The base game weapon list is perfectly fine. You got an SMG, an assault rifle, a nail gun thing that's really accurate, a 3-round burst scoped AUG looking gun, the previously mentioned shotgun, and a few more that I'm forgetting. It's not important. The point is that these 3 weapons make such nice and thematic additions. There's so many weapons to try. It makes me hate that you can only carry 2 at a time, 3 if you're counting the default pistols. I mean, there's always cheats, of course, but that eliminates the joy of finally getting to use your favorite weapon. Typically, I keep the shotgun at all times, with the 3rd weapon alternating with whatever I find. Like when you see a bunch of rocket launchers, you know something's about to go down, and it's time to swap that 3rd weapon. Which brings me to my next point. 2, the encounters are perfected in Extraction Point. The arenas in which you fight in are perfect. The landscapes range from classic warehouses to churches to subways to hospitals. It stays fresh. And since Extraction Point seems to be more about the big and bold battles, they keep your weapons stocked. rockets for the mechs, rifles for the long-distance shooting, and shotguns for close-quarters mayhem. The level design is perfect. I believe that it's 100% perfect. You are never without the proper tools unless you're just not paying attention. Med kits are everywhere. The game was all about the action and less about the survival, which some may not like, but it's nice after playing a full survival low-on-ammo game in the base game. Now you get to have a lot more fun. It might be placebo, but I swear that there's more ammo and health items in this than the base. Except for maybe the particle beam gun thing. I rarely see it here, but, other than that. There's also the new enemies that spice up gameplay, keeps you on your toes. 3, the scares are better, in my opinion. Well, this is half and half. Because some things are outright cheese, but other times, there's some incredibly intense moments that'll scare the crap out of you the first time you see it. There's more hallucinations, too. The subtle scares are still there. The ones, random shadow in the corner of the room type stuff. Then you got jump scares and just disturbing imagery altogether. I absolutely love the scares in Attraction Point more than the base game. But then again, I played the base game so much that I'm kind of used to it and desensitized to it, even though there is still some that kind of catch me off guard that I forget about because there's just so many subtle scares there. But so it might be that Extraction Point is one I haven't played as much. These 3 factors make Extraction Point better than the base game in my honest opinion, but again, I don't consider them mutually exclusive. When I play the base game, I immediately follow up with Extraction Point. It's cohesive. It all feels like one singular title with how the pacing is done. I'm ready to play the base game now, and maybe, just maybe, I put the base game F.E.A.R game in the Extraction Point, since that's what the mix-up tends to be. I don't see that being the case, but I had that problem when I was a kid. I never put games back where I got them, and they were really hard to find. And maybe this was just me being sleepy. No. It's Perseus Mandate. So maybe the original game's in Perseus Mandate. Let's go take a look. All right, so I went and got Perseus Mandate. I didn't have it ready for this review because honestly, I really don't like Perseus Mandate and... Perseus Mandate. I'm gonna check another box. Oh, my games! They got replaced by Perseus Mandate! Yeah! Perseus Mandate. Actually, to tell the truth, it's not as bad as I remember. The segment you just saw was something I had made before even replaying Perseus Mandate, and I was already set on trashing this pack. I hated this so much back in the day that I hadn't replayed it since then. I completely ignored its existence. But now I'm like, that was kinda harsh. Yeah, there's some issues, and we'll go over those, but for the most part, it's just more F.E.A.R, and that, to me, shouldn't be a complaint. Both these expansions got criticism back in the day for being more of the same with minor changes, and I'm like, why change what's perfect? I mean, look, we got F.E.A.R 2, and people are like, oh man, it's not the same revolutionary game. This is terrible, it's not as good. Anyway, I better not rant about this for 10 minutes, or else I'll hear about it in the Discord. Perseus Mandate is different in that you are no longer playing as the previous protagonist. You're in the shoes of another F.E.A.R member, a part of a different squad that's going down to the war zone. You get some AI teammates who hang out with you for the first few sections and a couple in the middle. Their AI isn't the greatest, but who cares? They don't really get in the way or get you killed or anything, so let them run in circles. So let's do like before and break it down into segments, except it won't all be positive. 1, let's talk about the weapons. 2 of the new weapons absolutely suck. The lightning gun shock weapon thing has potential. Kind of like the laser before it, the lightning gun thing sticks out because it's unique. However, it's not very strong and the fire rate's pretty slow. I only used it enough to get footage for it. The new assault rifle with the red scope is just lame. You're never in a setting that calls for this scope, and the gun itself is just plain boring. It has some stopping power, but I don't know. But the grenade launcher, this thing is a beast. It clears rooms and explodes on impact. It's such a fun weapon to use. Sure, you could totally kill yourself using it, but the risk is worth it. The grenades bounce wildly all over the place, but a well-placed shot will bank right into an enemy position, and it's so satisfying to watch that blood splatter out of the doorway. It's easily a favorite weapon of mine. 2, the environment. F.E.A.R is kind of known for its boring locations, office cubicles, warehouses, and other commercial/industrial areas. What F.E.A.R excels at is making these familiar and comfortable places absolutely eerie or an all-out battleground. Anyway, Perseus Mandate's environments are just plain old boring. Lots of walking around empty spaces, very few scares. It really looks like a fan mod or a level. Now, the later levels aren't that bad. It begins to look much better. However, areas tend to repeat more often, making me feel like I've accidentally backtracked. This is the biggest gripe I had with it while playing. Just a lot of empty open areas. A lot more open conflicts than the intense close quarter ones, which leads me to the final point. The encounters are just not as good. Playing Extraction Point, then turning around and immediately playing Perseus Mandate was maybe not a good idea. Or maybe it was. I can remember all kinds of intense, awesome moments that happened to me during Extraction Point, but not Perseus Mandate, except for this very short turret section and trick-shotting grenade launches. The fights here are just boring, and the new enemies aren't anything special. What's worse is that you fight plain old security guards at certain sections. This is after a few dangerous enemies are introduced earlier. It's like, oh, these easy guys again? Right now? Why? They're like flies. The combat is still perfect and fun as usual. It just doesn't extend the intensity or the interest of Extraction Point. It's the weakest of the 3 releases in this regard. And I'd say it's the weakest of the 3 releases, period, if that wasn't obvious already. And that's all I gotta say about Perseus Mandate, really. It's not as terrible as I remember. I've said it before on this channel, or maybe it was on stream, but doing CD-ROM Fossil made me realize that it could be a lot worse. I kind of appreciate games that were just okay or subpar, because I could be playing Mob Enforcer. Anyway, that's my spooky video this year. I hope you enjoyed and all that. I really recommend the first F.E.A.R game, but a few things to note. Steam only sells the complete franchise in one bundle, and it's like $60. This is fine if you want all those games and expansions, I guess, but I'd recommend looking elsewhere for Steam codes. If you have GOG, they sell F.E.A.R Platinum, which is the first F.E.A.R and its 2 expansions for like $10. Additionally, Windows 10 compatibility is a little iffy, so I'm going to link the PC Gaming Wiki page that explains how to fix a lot of the errors you'll see. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Have a happy, spooky Halloween, and I'll see you in the next episode of whatever that may be.